It's this kind of work at the Baker Fish Hatchery that's partly to credit for saving Baker River sockeye salmon from extinction. 2 hydroelectric dams operated by Puget Sound Energy, or PSC, churn out electricity for about 1 million customers in Washington state. But for 85 years, the dams also blocked miles of habitat for salmon and nearly destroyed the runs. In a stunning feat, this year, the fish came roaring back with a record return that smashed the forecasted numbers.
It was amazing again to see these large numbers. It's one of the biggest things that have happened to our people.
This summer, as the historic run came through their ancestral grounds, members of the Upper Skagit Indian tribe got to extend their number of allotted fishing days. A far cry from the years the tribe couldn't fish for Baker River sockeye whatsoever. That went on for 8 decades.
It was a real positive thing for us to see this big run this year and a big milestone for our people. I never thought that I would make it to the day to see that.
In 1925, PSC built its first dam on the Baker and tried to make up for the harm to salmon. They built a fish ladder and in later years tried other ideas. It wasn't working. From the 1920s to the 80s, the run struggled with low numbers, with an all-time low in 1985 of just 99 fish. The dams were partly to blame for crushing the salmon runs, and with it, the heart and soul of the Upper Skagit Indian tribe, who'd fished the river for 10,000 years. A way of life was on the brink.
Part of us would have been gone, a part of our history, part of our culture. That's why we continue to be proactive and speak for the salmon. The salmon must survive just as we've survived.
It was very concerning.
PSC officials knew the clock was ticking.
We thought we were going to lose this stock entirely, and we were close.
The utility worked with tribes and the state, and in 2010 installed one of the most sophisticated fish passage operations in the country. A system to move fish around the dams by trapping them, then literally taxiing them around the dams and shooting them back into the water on the other side. PSC also built the Baker Hatchery. Right now, once a week, they're separating adult males from females at the end of their lives. From the females, they're removing about 2,700 eggs apiece, then fertilizing them before putting them in incubation trays. After a few months, this whole process will result in tiny fish being put into Baker Lake. And in 4 years, they should return as adults. Another way to bolster the run, a multi-million-dollar year-round investment by a utility.
It aligns with our values, and this has been the right thing from the get-go.
And here's the payoff. From that dismal low of 99 fish, the run has drastically improved. This year's run was expected to be around 31,000 sockeye, but the actual number more than doubled at 65,000.
It's a labor of love to see all these fish come back. Where it was to where we are now, it's remarkable. You don't get success stories like this, but this is one of them.
About 200 yards from this spot on the Baker, the river flows into the Skagit, where another utility, Seattle City Light, operates 3 hydroelectric dams with no fish passage system installed at all. And for 4 years, that's been a contentious sticking point between City Light, Native American tribes, and government agencies. Unlike Puget Sound Energy, that accepted responsibility for harming fish, Seattle's public utility fought that notion.
But tribal leaders say Seattle continues to ignore them.
In a 2-year investigation, the King 5 investigators exposed how Seattle City Light denied their dams hurt fish and originally refused to even study the idea of adding fish passage. The only scientists who believed that theory worked for Seattle City Light.
We flipped the switch. I asked the team to flip the switch.
In April, the then CEO of the utility announced the city had finally agreed to install fish passage on the Skagit.
I think it's a big step. It's intended to be one. This is what we need to do.
That was 6 months ago, and to date, there's still no agreement signed, no official commitment by City Light.
We're just hoping that, the city follows through with its commitment to do what it stated it was going to do. I want to make it clear, the Upper Skagit tribe needs to have fish passage over these 3 dams to make this right.
While salmon runs on the Skagit have dwindled over the years, what's happened on the Baker is giving the tribe hope.
This is a victory, and it just shows that, you know, through a collective effort and collaboration, things can be positive and you can affect a change in the right direction.
Now, Seattle City Light, the utility with no fish passage on the Skagit River, sent me a statement saying, yes, they, quote, remain committed to putting in fish passage over all 3 of their dams. But they say the federal government has to have the final sign off on that plan, and that could take 2 to 3 years. Here's the concern with that. The stakeholders, including Native American tribes, say they hope the salmon on the Skagit have that much time. You know, those runs are trending down. Not as bad as what we saw with the sockeye on the Baker, but it's not headed in the right direction.
And then you look at what's happening on the Baker and we see what could be possible.
Yeah, it's such a joyous
hope.
thing. Exactly. Hope,
Wow.
hope, a sign of hope, especially for the tribes.
Good stuff. Keep us
We're
posted.
going to stay on it. We'll keep you posted.